everybody, Maine Fly Guys here with another tutorial. Today I want to show you how I tie my gummy saltwater snack. I don't really know what to call it, but it's got a UV resin head and it's for those small bait fish. This is only 2.5, 3 inches long, so sometimes I'm in the marsh and I'll look down at my feet and I'll see these bait fish that are really small, and I really don't know what they are, but they kind of have a dark back, light belly, you know, just looking like your average bait fish. And so I made this fly to imitate them, and it seems to work fairly decently. So I have caught quite a few fish on it, and especially in marshes, an area where there's smaller bait fish in estuary type areas. So here I'm using a 1/0 tarpon mustad hook, 2XH 2XS. This is Prime Fish Co. They are a new company that I have gotten the opportunity to test out some of their stuff, and it's been fantastic. Their stuff is excellent. I would highly recommend it. Check their website out or their Instagram page, Prime Fish Co. So I'm just locking in. These are their small dumbbell eyes. Just locking them in. You can see here what they look like. They're great. These are not weighted. So now I'm going to add in my first step, which is some deer hair. This again is a very small pattern, so you really don't want to take a lot of deer hair. If you think you have enough, you probably have too much. You should at some point say, boy, should I grab more? Because this is a very faint pattern. There's not a lot to it. So here's my deer hair, and I probably have too much, but there's some rats will come out. Okay, so I really don't have a lot here. You know, I just have maybe about a dozen strands. I'm gonna measure it out, and it's kind of gonna be a clouser pattern. So here I want my strands to come about 2 inches behind. I also start this pattern, I start it in the middle of the hook. You can start it at the front. I don't really know why I start it in the middle. I just sort of did it that way. Alright, so just lock that in, and I just do a few wraps. Now essentially where you have wrapped, that is going to be the diameter of your jelly head. So on the bottom here, I like to add in, what I do is I do 3 layers. I do a little bit of deer hair, and I go with black, and I'm talking like, I don't know, let's see here, not many strands, maybe 6 to 8, you know, as far as deer hair goes. Just measure it up. I want it to be about the same length. I want it to be about the same length as my white bucktail on top. I just tie that in, and I work back. Careful not to extend where your jelly head is. You don't want to go any further the whole time. Okay, so that looks good. Then I have some flash here, which is just some Mirage Flashaboo. Very cool stuff. Kind of changes color. Very cool stuff. So I grab a few strands of that, maybe 3. I usually go with 3 strands. And I'll tie them in too, right on top of the black bucktail. And I just tie them in on top, and if you wrap it around the thread and just pull down, they'll separate out themselves. So there's 3. I just kind of pull them to each side. making sure that they are, which they are, separated on either side, so they fall to either side of the hook so they don't get tangled. And then my final layer, I put some chartreuse. Bucktail, again, you know, you can do whatever color combo you want, but for those little bait fish that I can't ever really seem to get a good look at, I find that this color works the best. Black, like a pattern with a little more black in it, also does well. So continue with not very much there. You see it's very, very thin. But I measure it out, make sure it's the same length as the rest of them. Okay. Make sure that you, again, don't go further than where you have already started. Typically what I'll do is I'll do like 2 or 3 wraps and then just kind of work it back a little bit till it is in that zone where my head is going to be. And if you want, you can trim off any long fibers that might be sticking out. Alright, so that ain't bad. And I'll come through and just tidy up. Tidy up a bit. Okay, that is no fun. Idiot, don't worry. So now I'm just going to whip finish. I'm going to tidy this up a little bit just to make sure that it's neat and the fibers are where they want, because once they're in the location, once we make the head, there's no moving them. So I like where they're at right now, but I'm just going to double check to make sure. Okay, so let's take a look. So I pull it off and I will look at it. Are my eyes straight? Which they seem to be pretty good. Is my bucktail where I want it to be? Is it falling on the right side of the hook? Make sure you get everything straightened out. So everything seems to be pretty good. I'm going to put it back here. And now I am going to make my head. So I like to use Solares thick. It's great. And the biggest part is to make sure that you have all your material pulled back. Make sure you guys make sure that it's pulled back. Basically, if you can pull it back, then it will stay more of a streamlined shape. So you only want to go a little bit at a time. If you try to do this quickly, it won't turn out very good. So what I do is just kind of glob a little bit on the top. Okay, start with the top and just kind of wiggle it, make it settle a little bit. Alright, so it's settled. So I'm just going to zap it. Make sure you're holding your material back. And I'm just zapping it really quickly because I just want it to set like that. Okay, and I'll go to the underside and I will do the same thing. Okay, just let that settle down a little bit. I shake it back and forth so that it kind of evens its, you see how it kind of has settled down now. So I'll just zap that. And the start of our jelly head is coming along nicely. Alright, so you see how the material is a little more choked now, so it just has a little tighter profile. And so our jelly head, as you can see, is not robust enough. Not yet, at least. So I'll come in and fill in any major gaps. Add a little bit there, add a little bit there. Just fill in the gaps. And once you have filled in the gaps, I like to give it a good rotation. That way the head will even out. Kind of like where we did the wiggle and it kind of settles down. It will even out a little bit. And this is where rotary vise comes in handy. So if you don't have one, I would recommend getting one. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now this is just the bulk of it. We're gonna refine it with Solarez Thin or Loon Thin, whichever one is closest to me here. And it looks like Loon Thin is closest to me. Alright, so that's hard enough. So now what I do is I come in with Thin, because I don't want the bulky head. I want to really refine it to make it a nice even shape. And so I just find the spots that I want to add to. So like right here, if it ever comes out. Do I have any left? I think I do. Maybe I don't. Okay. Looks like we're gonna have to go with Solarez then. Okay, ran out, so we're going with Solarez Thin. So same thing though. I'm just gonna find spots. See, this one flows just a little bit better. Alright, and I kind of want to build it up a little more. This stuff runs pretty good, so work quickly, I would say. And if there are any problem areas, you can come in with a bodkin and kind of move things around. Alright, so that's a nice jelly head now. Just spinning it around to even out the distribution. And you can see it's fairly even. Right, looks pretty decent. Let's see how it looks. This is the view that I like to look from to really make sure that it's even. So you see the front is pretty good, but right there needs some filler, and I can see it plain as day. So just keep at it. This is something that takes a little time. Takes a little time to get good at. Okay, so now I have got my jelly head. If you look from this angle, looks pretty good. From this angle, looks pretty good. This angle, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So check it on all sides. Make sure that it's even. What I like to do now is, you can zap it and keep zapping it if you want it to get extra hard. But what I do is I put it in the sunlight. I put it in the sunlight for about a whole day, really, on my big jelly heads. I put it in the sun for a day. So, you can do whatever you want, but the sun is great. If you want to keep flashing it, I would flash it for like a whole minute or something like that, because it's a pretty good amount of UV gel. If you're worried about stick, you can always cover it with Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. So if you're worried about tack or whatever, you can just come come over it and put a really thin layer of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. It won't build up the head anymore, but it will remove tack. So you just kind of come in and spread it on there. You could do that, and that will remove the tackness, and it will be hard as nails, as the brand says it is. So you can do that, and I just do a couple spins like that. You can still put it in the sun, because the UV gel will still harden if you put it in the sun, which I'm going to go do right now on this beautiful Friday afternoon. And let this one settle down a little bit. So here it is. Here's the pattern. The jelly head, whatever. Great for saltwater, small bait fish. Has a great little profile. Good little bait fish. If you have a bunch of little bait fish in your estuary, feel free to tie this pattern and throw it, because you will have success. So thanks for watching. Check us out on Instagram, Maine Fly Guys, and we'll see you later. Thanks.